Okay, everyone. Is that working? I think that's perfect. All right, now, pardon me, I'm just a few seconds late here. And kablamo. Oops. Like that. Perfect. Okay, guys, thank you all for coming. Again, geez, see, I just got out of the shower. That's why I'm late. Just had a workout. Yeah, if anyone is new here, I'm just going to share that I'm live as well. But basically, what we do is a live stream, kind of just to shoot the shit with you, see how everything is going on your guys' end, talk about any videos that I made this week. Then we do a good technical analysis rundown of what I think is going to happen in the market for next week, both crypto, FX, and stocks. Then we will scan the market with trade ideas to try to figure out, find a few game plans, a few things to trade for next week. I'll also at the end there take chart requests. So if you've got anything that you're interested in me looking at, just save it till the end there. And then that will be about it. And as always, this is a sample kind of um, what the Stats Edge Pro members get each and every day, right? So what I end up doing here is while I'm doing this, I end up making in kind of on my other monitor that's over here, doing the blog post. So Stats Edge Pro members will get access to all of the annotated charts that I come up with, as well as a little paragraph of kind of what I'm thinking for the next day. Combined with just any scans that I have access to. They get all my scanner settings and all that kind of stuff. So if that interests you at all, come on down to statsedgetrading.com, which is in the link in the description below, and you can try the pro member there. There's also a free trading course, so if you guys are new, that's free. You don't even need to sign up or put in an email or anything. My hair is just atrocious right now. Good thing no one shows up here for my looks. So let's just pop right into it. And let's go in here and shrink this over a bit there. And let's take a look at, always liking to start with the crypto market. So, not a lot has changed, right? So what's 7 days from today? It was after the crash. I know the crash happened by the first time we chatted. Oh, and this isn't really actually where I go first. What I want to do first is talk about any videos I made. So let's open them up. A little bit more interesting this week when it came to, I did a little bit more work this week on the channel than last, because it was a much more interesting week in the market for sure. So we'll go boom. So these are the videos I made last week. So what was last one was probably Playboy, and that hasn't triggered yet. I still like it, but it hasn't triggered yet. So is that on? Oh, that's on session. Weird thing is if you go from session to daily on TrendSpider, it changes things. So this is what I'm looking at with Playboy. Obviously, this has been an incredibly strong stock since its IPO, which I think was actually a de-SPACing. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the case. So basically this area, do the arrow, this area all the way back here, anytime you see any of these shaded zones for me, that's just an area that I think is interesting, right? Is an area that's acted as support resistance in the past. You can see support in through here, resistance in through here, put in this nice kind of rounded bottom and then broke out, and it's been flagging ever since. So I'm looking to see if this is going to continue up there. Has, I believe, a 25% short flip. So if we get going, that's kind of interesting. Mdrx. I'm in some of this Mdrx. Basically, was just looking for same kind of look, I guess, just to show you guys that I'm a creature of habit. But we have this nice zoomed in kind of pattern, and then it's putting in this handle. So you call this cup and handle. So I took some on this day, I believe, when we broke out right there, and I'm up a little bit on it, but not too much, so I haven't done anything with that. And then the other one here was ASRT, which I haven't done anything with, but again, just to show I'm a creature of habit. Let's get rid of that fib. I've just started playing with fibs after listening to JC at All Star Charts, but yeah, ASRT, again, same big rounded bottom and then this sideways base. So this is a little bit of a cheaper name, which I don't really play too much, but I like to every now and then. The beauty of the cheaper names is they take way less buying power, right? You buy 2,000 shares of this as a swing, and if you're right and the thing pops up significantly, then you get a good view from that. I'm just changing my lights here so I've got like an orange tin. If you guys haven't noticed, I've moved my desk again. I have no lighting on this wall, so I need to figure that out. I'm just opening up my office is also my gym, so I'm always just trying to figure out what the best way to combine that is. So I'm going to hang a pull-up bar over here, and then if anyone cares, right? So I've got the power blocks and all of that. So I'm just trying to figure out the best way to coexist in an office with a gym and have the sound and the lighting and all of that stuff work the best. Can't have a healthy body without a healthy mind is something I always say. So can't have a healthy mind without a healthy body, other way around. So of the things that kind of looked that we're going to trigger, everything looks good. It was a good week for Stats Edge Pro. We got some great swings. I'll just talk about FGen, which is kind of my definite winner of the month so far. And this is one of the things I'm playing with fibs for, right? So this is from low to high, and then the 1.618 fib is also this low on FGen. But again, as you guys can see, creature habit, right? FGen was the same kind of play, big rounded bottom. I like to buy stuff that's depressed a bit, but I always want to trade with the trends. So the thing I like about these rounded bottoms is it allows, you're not buying stuff on the way down. You're allowing accumulation to come in and build in over time. And then once you get these kind of consolidations, right, I don't want to buy it when it's in a downtrend like this, right? So we have a higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, right? So you can see that around this area is where the trend changed, and I waited a bit, and then I'm trying to take a break out of this trend. So the question for FGen is it going to fill the gap? So again, there's the website if you guys are interested. So we've got this free trading course right here. Again, these are just YouTube links. So, even when I say free, I know some people are like, I got to give you my contact information. You don't need to do shit. You just click on this link and there's a whole bunch of YouTube videos. I think Trade Ideas, right? They paid me to put that on. So that's one of the main reasons it's free to you guys forever. Access to my trading tools in the link below. I use TrendSpider and Trade Ideas. TrendSpider is kind of my advanced charting tool, whereas Trade Ideas is my scanning and execution software. If you're interested in either of those, buying them with the links here will help out the channel. And then Stats Edge Pro, if you want to check it out, that's right here or up under my face here. And this is just what it is, right? Full access to my scanners for Trade Ideas TrendSpider, nightly newsletter with technical analysis of the crypto and equity markets, nightly watch list of swing candidates and levels to watch, access to our Discord room, and then I put this is not an alert service because I don't believe in alert services. But so what you're going to see me do here for the next hour is basically what the work I do in the background for the guys there every night. Also, before I move on, this is a really cool tool I've been playing with Trade or TrendSpider a lot. Where, right, this is kind of my entry right here, and it will let you draw out your stop loss and profit target, and then it will just easily give you some stats, right? So I'm risking 8% on FGen to make 45%, and that's a 6.2 risk reward. Because if anyone's ever taken that free trading course, I'm big on that number. What is it that you're risking versus what is it you're making? Almost everything else, in my opinion, is irrelevant. So, all right. So that is last week. So let's get into the crypto markets. I'll bring up Bitcoin and then I'll go to my crypto scanner here and let that thing sort. So that wasn't over there. That should have been, oh, geez. Let me actually just remove all this, start again. So the main things that I'm watching in Bitcoin in particular is, sorry, I keep trying to make the camera centered, but then cables and stuff keep getting in my way. But so obviously this area up here is very important. We had it as a high here and here and here, and then it broke through a little bit here and here and then broke down. So, call that 60 to 65,000 is a big level. So as long as we're under that, I don't think you can be insanely bullish. Now, this area is interesting to me as well, and call that 40,000, right? We had resistance here and support here and here. So that's interesting to me as well. One thing that I saw from JC's at All Stars Twitter was just talking about what if this is just a massive accumulation area, which I think we still need more evidence of. But if, just playing the if game, this was just a big rounded accumulation zone, then you could say that this would be a kind of prolonged flag. And that would be pretty substantial because, generally speaking, with these technical patterns, you can take how low the dip was and project that upwards as a rough target. And in this case, you're talking a 60,000 or a 30,000 point range. So if you add that 30,000 point range to the top of this, then that would get you that mystical Bitcoin 100,000, which everyone's looking for. I think we need more evidence of that. So I'm not gonna draw that out yet. But really, the way I'm looking at Bitcoin is if we're below here and we're above here, we're in a range. Right, so that will be the note that I'll put for the trader guys in range. Nothing to do. Now, if you wanted to then zoom into a lower time frame to trade Bitcoin, then I think you can do that. But I just think as long as we're in this range, either being aggressively long or aggressively short, I don't think makes a lot of sense. So now let's just start going through some of the ones. There's DOT. That looks not good. So what I'm looking for, sand. I may have been triggered in Sandbox here. So this was part of the watch list. I'm just loading up the watch list now so I can be sure. But I think I probably had it at 575 right there. So I'm not in yet, I don't think. Where's the high of that? No, it's got a little bit to go. One thing I love about trading crypto, at least through my exchange Kraken that I use, I can set the entry criteria and then say if I get triggered, put out a stop loss. So then other than looking at it once a day, I don't really pay too much attention to it. And yeah, so I have 575 there for sand. So I'm going to leave that in place. Basically, just this thing's been strong. It's just had the pattern of right up and then pull back and then up and then pull back and then up and then pull back. So 575 gets you to 12, maybe like 12 or 15. That would be a three bagger. So there's no complaints there. Sandbox, and again, I don't know what these do. I think that's one of those digital real estate things, which I don't get. There's some stuff in crypto I just don't get, and I could just be an old fogey. But again, I get the I get Bitcoin, I get, cryptocurrencies, I get all that. NFTs and digital land, I think is that's a step beyond what makes sense to me, but hey, if it works for you, it works for you. So this engine coin, I had a little bit long here at 330. I sold out as it went up and then got triggered out the rest on the way back down. I still like the look of this one. I'm actually going to move this line down a bit to here because basically now what I'm looking at is um, this prior resistance and then the support in through here. So let me actually just remove that rectangle and let's just redraw here. So like anywhere in this area, and it's a big one, is the resistance here and support here and support here. And we're starting to move up a bit. So I like engine. I'd want to see it back over 3. Give it a little bit of a chance to get above these highs. But I like the look of that one. Because a lot of people were asking me, the more I look at this stuff, is how I trade Bitcoin. And Mana is interesting too. And I think that's another one of these. Oh yeah, that's Mana's Decentraland. So I'm going to add that one. A lot of people ask how I trade these things, and it's the same as anything else. I use the same patterns. I want to identify the names that are in an uptrend for my time frame, which is days to maybe weeks, and try to find a way in those uptrends. So you see me skip through a lot, and I'm basically, just skipping through ones like this. That's obviously in a downtrend. I'm just not interested. There's many, many coins here to take a look at. All right, SMG. You can see I was kind of interested there if we bounced off this level we have in here, but we didn't. We just went sideways, so not interested in that. BAT. I had BAT's been fantastic for a couple moves. I think it needs some time to digest. But right, look at them, no different than stocks. I keep telling people, open a Bitcoin account. Even if it's $100, open up a crypto account. So this one's Solana is interesting to me, right? And the reason is because you see all the names I'm going through here. There's tons of names now, and they're not very tightly correlated anymore. So I'm gonna just say watch the 200 whole number. And so if they're a bunch of names and they're not correlated, and you don't need to have a pattern day trader crap that you guys got in the States, and right, it's like, why wouldn't you? You can get 5-to-1 leverage on some of these. I don't know if I'd recommend it, but I think the equity markets are going to go 24/7 in the next 5 years anyway. So I would want to spend that time preparing what trading a 24/7 market looks like. This sand is interesting to me, or Solana is interesting. Obviously, this thing's been a monster. This chart doesn't even go back far enough. I think Solana earlier last year was like $1 a coin, and now it's like 200. So Adam's been a bit of an ass to me. I'm up on Adam, but it was one of those, I just felt like I was always waiting for something to go, and I just managed risk well enough that I didn't get hurt too much in it. But, if we start to pop up from here, that's something I want to keep in watch. And if there's any cryptocurrencies, now would be a good time. I'll go over cryptocurrencies anytime. But if there's any cryptocurrencies you guys want me to look at, that's great. I go through this fairly quickly because I know most of you guys are stock guys. However, I implore you, even if it's $100, I've got no dog in the fight. There's no referral money I'll make off of this, but I just think everybody should have a crypto account just to get used to playing with it as well. Ooh, LRC. Yeah, this one was great earlier, and then go from there. And this one's been kind of just flagging here. So I'm going to put that one on watch as well. Every time you just see me do that, again, I'm taking a screenshot for the the members. Algorand. Want to look at Algo USD. Yeah, so I had some notes here, right? You can see the kind of cup and handle I drew in back here. I got a wicked trade off of that. Now I'm just watching, as this shaded area I think is important for Algorand. We'll call that maybe 160. I think over 160, that's fine. To be, if you wanted to play it long here, I think you could play a little support play. If you're under 140, I think you got to get back out. For me, I drew in this downtrend line here, so I'm going to want to see that get retaken. So that's 175 right now, but as time goes on, that's going to kind of tick out. But, you know, it's a good looking one. The way I look at it is any ones that are over this, the earlier in the year's high when they made that rocket, well, they're doing better than Bitcoin, right? So just use this. Look at where I have this arrow right here, right now, and then let me go over to Bitcoin. Right, so that reference point would be right here, and we're well below that on Bitcoin. So me, as someone who likes to own stuff that's in an uptrend and strong, I think Algorand looks good. I just want to see it pop off that kind of area right there. Hive was good to you. Oh, Hive Blockchain. Yeah, they're good old Canadian company. Nothing wrong with that. Again, I just think that HNT is helium, I think. I just think you should open a crypto. I just don't think there's any reason not to take, $50 and open up a crypto account and start playing with it. Because if I'm right, and the markets are going to go 24 hours, I could see everything in the future getting tokenized anyway. It would be good to have done some training. You're not going to, most cryptos charge a percentage of whatever the trade is with no cap. So you're never going to lose money because it's a smaller trade. It's just you're not going to make anything with $100 account, but it's just the experience and the training I think is important. So Helium, if that's what H&T is, I think it is actually looking good. It's pulled all the way back to this breakout place. So I'm kind of watching. I think right, you just draw in a little, call it a declining wedge. It's pretty gnarly angle for it, but right, this thing's kind of getting tight. So if we get a breakout here on HNT, I think that'll be interesting. You can play right off that $25 level. So maybe, I don't know, 31 or 32 to get in and then play off of 25. And if you're right, there's nothing stopping the thing from hitting 70 or 80, right? They're just insanely volatile stocks, is the way I look at them. And I love volatile stocks because it just means that I can trade way smaller and commit less capital, right? If I'm trying to risk, say, 1,000 on a trade, hypothetically, let's say $1,000 was my stop loss point for a swing trade, and I'm looking to make 2, 3, 4, 5,000 on a trade. Well, it's just easier for me to do that with something like that Helium, where I'm looking to buy it at 30 and sell it at 60. So I'm looking to double. So if I'm looking to make 5,000, then I only need 5,000 in my account to potentially do that. All right, so that is it for the crypto side of things. Again, I think with Bitcoin, you're stuck in a range here. There's really nothing you can do. Ether, right, a little bit stronger. Oh, and I think that's actually, it's probably better to go, what is it, Ether over Bitcoin? Or is it Bitcoin over Ether? No, Ether over Bitcoin. Right, so this is a chart that I watch a lot, which is just the relative strength between the two. You can see we were tightening here for a while. We broke out, pulled back, tested perfectly, and away we went. So Ether is definitely looking stronger relative to, and it looks like it's going to continue to be relatively stronger. So that to me, every time I see Ether being strong, it makes me think it's time to look at the altcoins like Algorand and all the other ones that we did. So, that being said, let's take a look at Forex now. Forex personal. So yeah, people ask me all the time, what do I trade? Right? The easiest answer I can give is everything. So I'm going to reiterate, this. Because I'm a trader, right? I don't care what it is. If it's got a chart and it's actively traded, then that means that it has principles of supply and demand that should work. So I can trade it. So Euro GBP, for example, I'm short off of this level right here. Still watching. I don't think I'll post that chart back in again, but still watching for this breakout on yen. It's broke out, snapped back in, but it's still holding this level right here, this 112. So if this is going to start moving higher, there's obvious uptrend in yen. And I think that Aussie dollar trade was great. I think that's it. Yeah. I missed my CAD. Where is it? It's not here. USD CAD. There we go. I really yes, that overhead resistance is still strong, but we've got kind of a rounded bottom here and then a second one here. So I'm hoping that's going to push us up through. Again, I'm heavily biased on CAD, so I try not to trade it much. And I'm heavily biased on CAD because I am Canadian and I am paid in everything I do in US dollars. So for me, I want the weaker the Canadian dollar, the better. It's like just a straight kind of pay raise for me. So these are all the ETFs that I go through. I'll just do that so you can see. So basically what is behind my mug there is all of the ETFs, and this is Trade Ideas. Again, if you haven't heard of it before, I would check it out. It's my scanning and alerting software. So what all these columns are essentially what position and range they are. So if I sort this, then XLP of the ETFs I look at is at the highest point in its 5-day range than anyone else. If I go position in year range, and then let's go the opposite, then I know that KWEB is getting hammered in its year range, which doesn't really surprise anyone with all the China stuff going on. So that's what I do to look at what's going on in the different markets. So we can start with the SPY. New all-time highs for the SPY, right? We can't really, there's just, my note is going to be simply nothing bearish about all-time highs, right? And that's, the Bears have lost again. I did a little bit of trolling of them on Twitter, and they weren't too happy, but you just can't be a sane human being and think that this is a bearish chart at all, right? So I know there's a lot of people out there that study the news and say, oh my God, look at all this news, this is going to end badly. I don't. And so all I care about is that we are indeed hitting new all-time highs. And in uptrends, you end up seeing a lot of new all-time highs. And in downtrends, you don't see any new all-time highs. So we are obviously in an uptrend. So I don't want to be fighting anything while we're in an uptrend. I really wish I could figure out how to unmute the guy that I muted on the channel when I did my weekend analysis when we were right here. He just started bombing the channel, just hateful stuff, but I was the stupidest guy ever and the market was going to come to an end and sell everything now and buy gold and all this craziness. I wish I can only find like the preview snippet of it, because really I never mute good criticism, but shit like that I just mute. But it was just the worst take ever. He was basically like right there telling everybody to sell everything and buy gold, which is hilarious, because anybody who's long gold is just, you got to get your head examined, right? It's just, if gold isn't going to rally when inflation is 7% a year, when is gold going to rally? Like, what's the good of it, kind of thing. RSP, I look at as well. For people who are new, RSP is just the SPY, but it's equal weighted as opposed to cap weighted. So it's just, to me, this is a better representation of what the market, of what the actual 500 stocks are doing. The reason the SPY is hitting all-time highs and RSP is not is just because of Apple, right? I think Apple's still a rocket ship, yeah. So, yeah, reason for SPY doing much better than RSP. So I'm going to take that screenshot. That note is still obviously valid. And then RSP, we've got a range within a range. And, all I'm talking about for that is, this range. We've got the highs here and the lows here, and then we've got that range inside of it. So really nothing to say there other than it's obviously bullish. Right, things that are closing at or near all-time highs are not bearish things. Now, MDY, which is our mid cap, so we're going down the cap scale now, which is something I always do a lot. I go the large caps, the mid caps, the small caps. So the mid caps are really nothing to say about that. They're right into resistance. And then we go into the small caps here. And I've got a bunch of Z's here, and that still seems like valid. Like, this was the biggest joke all year. All of the technicians waiting the entire year for this range to break, and we break just for a few days, and then we're right back into it. And, the question now just is, how long are we in it? So we've got an obvious area to watch, which is all these lows right here. As long as we're above that, I don't think you can be bearish, and as long as we're above this or below this, I don't really think you can be bullish, right? On the small caps, you just got to take your hits as they come. Now let me go into Koifin. Not affiliated with Koifin. Maybe they'll hit me up one day. But this is a great kind of Bloomberg terminal alternative for a really inexpensive rate on the web. And this is the main chart that I like to look at here with this, where I'm basically looking for, this is all of the sectors that make up the market. And I'm trying to say, what is going to matter? Like, is there anything here that stands out? And not really, other than technology is doing good. So there's nothing really to say there. But it just shows me that what's doing poor and what's doing well relative to the S&P 500. Sometimes if you see a lot of defensive names taking off and a lot of the, the more discretionary type names doing poorly, then you can go, okay, now it's time to, maybe sell a bit, be a more defensive, buy some of the VIX for a hedge or something like that. But I don't really see anything there. And then lastly, for the stocks, we go over to Forex Factory. And nothing. So my prediction, and who was it? Was it Mike? Yeah, Mike, a lot of Fed stuff this week. I think you're bang on about that. The way I see it is that basically we have, PPI and core PPI, which is producer price index, I think. And then that's on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, we have the FOMC statements. So my bet is that Monday and Tuesday is going to be incredibly boring because people with that inflation number of 7% was pretty high and all of that. But really, when I'm trying to bet, when is it going to be an active market and when is it going to be a dead market, it always has to do with when do I think large hedge funds and institutions are going to act. And for me, I think large hedge funds and institutions are going to act on um, they're not gonna buy or sell a whole bunch of stock right before uh, FOMC, right? They're gonna wait to see what they say about Fed decisions. And then is it on Thursday? Do they have more? No, okay, so that's just Philly Fed and unemployment, and then on Friday, nothing. Whoever the hell Waller is. So, right, if you're looking to take some time off this week, I think Monday and Tuesday is the way to go. Uh, and let's, take that and say, okay, there's no news on Monday and Tuesday, and a lot of people are going to be waiting for FOMC. And let's combine that with the fact that the market's inside of a range, inside of a range. I know myself, I won't be doing a shit ton of trading there. Question about TLT, does it have anything to do with banks? Yes and no. It's your bond index, right? So as rates move higher, this is going to move lower. As rates move lower, this is going to move higher. Now, banks are going to be related to that because if the banks can borrow at a cheaper rate, it's better for them. And if they have to pay a higher rate, they're going to make less money. So if rates move, then you're going to get more of a move of kind of those individual names. So, right, that's it. So let me break that down a little bit better. So um, you've, oop, stop, full cam. Okay. So let me break that down better. So you have the TLT, which is your bond prices, right? So just quickly, without boring people with bonds, but right, a bond is you buy, you give someone, government, whoever. This is Treasury bonds, TLT. So it is the government. You give the government $100, they pay you $10 a year, whatever, and then 20 years from now they give you your $100 back. So the higher the rates go, then that's going to affect that price. But so it doesn't directly affect banks, but if the banks are buying at a higher rate, because you got to understand a bank's business model is I'm going to borrow money from the government or some people, and I'm going to pay out other people. So you put money in your checking account, they pay you nothing, they take that money, they lend it out to someone else, they charge them whatever their interest rate is. So the lower the interest rates, the better for the banks because they get to borrow at a lower rate and they get to sell it at a higher rate, so their margins are higher. So the higher the rates go, the more they have to pay people in their checking accounts and things like that, or they're not going to put money in their checking accounts, they're going to put it somewhere else. So it's one of those things that not directly related, but related in kind of that inverse way where bond prices and bond rates are kind of inverted there. And then you put inflation into that mix and the whole thing becomes a nightmare. Quad witching on Friday. I don't know. If someone else wants to confirm that. It's the third Friday of the month, right? Oh, I probably shouldn't open my calendar in front of a live stream people on the internet. There's a lot of things I do I can't talk to you guys about. Yes, that's definitely the third Friday on the 17th. And it would be the end of the quarter. So, yeah. Makes sense. Good explanation. Cool. Yeah, so it would be. So that would be interesting as well. So kind of my thoughts on the market is just that, right? I like to summarize every time I move to a different instrument. We're in a choppy period. with the next few days being a choppy period. On Wednesday, we'll have FOMC, and I'll do my midweek video if I have time to do it then. So I'm not going to be doing a hell of a lot until then. I'm going to be kind of just sitting back and watching, placing trades as need be. But I know that Wednesday is going to be a massive event, so I just don't want to, swing for the fences until kind of after that. But so now is when I update the list. So let me go through and clean them out first, and then I'll take whatever kind of questions you guys have. So what I'm doing is this is the list as is, and I'm cleaning out things that I don't think are good triggers anymore. So like Ford, if it pulled back, maybe, but that was already a good one, so I don't want to put that on the list. Plus, I have a limit to how many things I can fit on the list, so I want to make sure that I can clear things off whenever I can, so it means I can put some more on. Because I have rules about the only things I'll ever trade are things from my list or things that come from my algorithms. So flow still looks good. I'm in this one. Basically, again, I've shown you this is kind of what I look for, this big round at bottom, and then this kind of flag pattern to play off of. It's been super, super slow. LNG, I like the look of this one as well, although this one's just kind of been chopping, so it may need some more time. MRC, I still like this one, or MCR, sorry, and right, just a nice flag here. I don't really believe that triple tops are super common, so kind of my bet on this one is that we've got one top here and one top here. So if we come back up, we come out of this pattern and we hit it, I think the odds are more that we'll break it than we'll break down. Mdrx, I'm in. That one should probably come off the list. I don't think that's a good buy here. We talked about that one. That's a pretty good one. NVIDIA, I still like, but that hasn't triggered yet. OIM, still waiting on that one. Playboy, I still like the look of. PubM, I still like the look of. There's been a lot of the pro members will tell you there's been a lot of the same stuff on the list for a while because it's not triggering, but it's not breaking down. Like QUOT has been on there for a few days, just looking to see if it breaks this resistance, and it's not triggering, not breaking down. RE, same kind of thing. VSCO, I think I'm going to pull that off. VSCO as well. Delete. And Zim, yeah, Zim's. I don't think Zim's any longer valid right there. So I have a cap on my list, so that's why I always clear them off first. And that's just for my own kind of sanity. I can't really, I trade crypto, I trade FX, I trade, I'll scalp a future from time to time. So I don't want to have to watch 100 things. Maybe I'm in 5 or 10 positions. I trade the TI strength algo. I trade a couple last hour algos and this. So if I make my list too long, I have to go through like 200 trades a day or 200 charts a day just to look at what I'm already looking at. So we have 11 things on the list, so we can find another 4 names. So now is the time where if you have any chart requests or anything you want me to look at, let me know. We're going to go over to Trade Ideas and start scanning. Brett's in snow. It's a decent looking chart. It got smoked, when the market sold off there. And then earnings. So was earnings the 30th? Okay, that's crazy. That's just weird action. When I look at that chart, my eye just immediately goes, and I ignore kind of everything before that point. This big sell-off that just got negated, and this sell-off was based off earnings, so the earnings must have been bad. And then there's people out there that will say, earnings bad, let me sell the stock. And those people are getting hosed. RH Donnelly. I don't see anything there. Personally, right, you've got 700 resistance. You've got support down here. It's obviously in a downtrend for my time frame anyway, right? Low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. So as a short, maybe. Uh, I don't see any reason to buy that there. Personally, right? Again, always, I'm not an investment dude. I am just some asshole on the internet. So obviously, trade your whatever your setups are. Man, are we gonna try SFM again? I knew I had this on the list before, and I think I took it off when it broke down there. But right, just to go talk about my setup, what I'm seeing in SFM. I wonder if my drawings will still be there. Oh, we had rainstorm after friggin' snowstorm after. It's just been a nightmare out at the old Nos house the last bit. But yeah, so I think I'm just going to put that right back on the list as is. Uh, again, just to show you, I'm a creature of habit. If you go back in old videos, you'll see a lot of the same stuff too. I wish they just had a curve drawing tool. Right? Big rounded bottom. Again, I'm not going to... It's down from its all-time highs, which I like. And then, obvious downtrend here gets stopped here with this higher low. Right now we're turning into an uptrend. So I just want to now participate in this uptrend as long as it remains an uptrend. So all the accumulation, everything's out of the way. Again, I never want to be the guy buying as it's doing this. I want to be the guy buying as it does that. So SFM looks good to me. So I think the same numbers work as well. So I'm going to go SFM, which, these are obviously loose numbers because it is not a signal service. I think anyone who wants or needs a signal service is going to get hosed, and then they'll eventually come to me and say, okay, now I just want to look over someone's shoulder. TGA. Interesting. Energy stock, so it's going to be super slow. I don't like all of the topping tails up here. So there seems to be something going on over kind of 325 or so. You can just see the 3 times they smacked it down there. And then you're up from 250 to 310 in 4 days for a really not volatile stock. So I don't know. And you got this RSI divergence going on here. So I just don't. All of those things enough would be enough for me to talk me out of that and into something else. So remember how I just talked about, what was that other one that you talked about, Brett? Oh, snow. I mean, this is what I always talk about with painting a picture with the chart. So snow had earnings right here. Right? So the anticipation for earnings was shit. Earnings was shit, and then the day after earnings was shit. And then something happened. Again, I don't care about the fundamental news, but I know they announced something, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong. I know you follow this one closer. But if earnings was, I guess, this night. But that kind of negates all of these sellers, and then we start to push up. So everybody who's betting short here got hammered. So if they were betting short, they have to cover. And if they sold, then they're going to have to get back in if they want to be involved in this name. So they got flushed out here. I like these kind of plays, and it's something that I'm working hard on doing some testing for. I wonder if I could even, you see the pattern right there? Just to show you, I didn't do this shit. There's my vacuum cleaner, but that pattern that's going on right there, that support, breakdown of support, come back up and then hold it, right? It just shows me that there's a lot of bag holders in that area. So I should just be like a weatherman at this point. You guys couldn't hear me if I walked over that. It's 12 feet away. But that's something that I'm trying to research. So this is, if you want to see my trading process as a setup trader, it's this. I get these ideas, I draw them on the board, and then I start testing them. So that's what I see there. And the reason I went and I did that rant is because it's also what I see here in UMWC. Now, what I don't like about this is that there's a lot of bag holders up here, right? I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this was a Wall Street Bets name back in the day. But, it had this complete fall out of bed here. And then it's gapped up and now it's holding. I need a name for this strat, right? A lot of people just call it a washout. They call it a undercut and rally. I like cooler names for my stuff. But so this I'm going to put on watch is kind of, I think, an experimental play. YUMC. Right, so the same kind of thing I'm looking at here. Let's remove all annotations. And yeah, I'm looking at this same kind of completely fall out of bed here. Now all of these people are underwater. So if this starts to move higher, anyone who's short in through here is in pain. Anyone who's sold out, who got flushed out of the name, may buy back in. So that may cause a rally. That and the short float is 15% on the name, which is pretty substantial. So, as an experiment for funsies, so what's that? 715 and 670 ish. So, and this probably be the what I make the video about. But yeah, basically I'm just looking to see that this was, and just so that I'm not, why cough bottom. People may have heard me talk about this as well. I didn't invent this, right? This is it Richard Wyckoff? He was like in the Charles Dow, Elliott Wave kind of thing. He talks a lot about the same thing, right? So here's the pattern as well, right? You have a support area, you have a resistance area, and then you have what he called the spring, right? So you undercut support and then you start trading back up again, right? And then you can pop up higher. So it just credit where credit's due. It's not like I invented this kind of idea. It's just that this is something that I am interested in. Can you anchor view app real quick? Where? Oh, you at the beginning? Yeah. Let's just do. Sometimes I like that Trade Ideas doesn't have. Let's just do it on the weekly. What? Okay, let's try it on the daily. What? Oh, duh. I'm not a smart man. Show indicators. So way up here. So you could get to 8. So I think that still holds. You got a long way to go there. So then the other places that if you're an anchored view app guy, which I'm looking into, but right, you would do that. You'd say, okay, well, you still got till 770 there. So I think that's still fine. Again, it's an experimental setup, and I'll note that um, in the watch list. YWMC 7, and it, like everything, right? This is what I'm watching. It's not a signal service, so I don't expect anyone to take that play. But again, just something I'm interested in looking at. Some a pattern that I would just like to explore more. Yeah, about 4 to 7 days after earnings, after a nice drop, which is stabilized and climbing up. Yeah, and that's the Brian Shannon, and again, I always feel like I'm not a good businessman when I spend half of the time uh, on when I should be promoting my shit, promoting others. But Brian Shannon's the man, and one thing that he always says, it's a famous quote of his, is from failed moves come fast moves. So when you can obviously see one side of a trade getting hammered, then it kind of behooves you to say, okay, well, let me look to go the other way, right? If you're buying a breakout, then you could, for example, look to say, okay, um, let me take the other side of that if that breakout fails, which is something that I know that I've never had the guts to do, but a lot of traders do. They buy the breakout, and if the breakout sale fails, they kind of reverse that. EXP looks good. Nothing wrong with that chart. It's a nice, strong chart. It looks like something that would be like a TI strength trade, which I like a lot of the picks for this week, but I'm not going to show them here. It's not very fair to the paying members. I don't mind showing them at like Tuesday or Wednesday, but it's boring. I know, Brett, you like the more boring stuff than I do, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, for me, it's a little boring. That being said, I am trying to always remind myself that I'm still in Rambus. So, right, called it for it was on my watch list right there, and it hasn't given me a reason to get out yet. I'm waiting for a close below the 8. That may have been kind of close, but because it was like this big top bottoming tail thing, I stuck with it. So, this has been like, the trade. Basically, this allowed me to eat in November if this is all I did, and it's boring. So, maybe as I get older, Brett, I'll be more inclined to trade or probably more likely as my account gets larger. It's one of those things that if you've got a $20 million account, you're totally cool if you can make 10% a year. So it makes sense to look at boring names, right? If you got $1 million account, you're trying to make 20% a year, you can still look at really boring names and try to just tweak them a little better. It's just all about where you are in kind of your life and times. All right, so that was for, again, you Stats Edge Pro member. That was the J-hook scan, which again, all of my scans, all the customs you need for it are all part of Stats Edge Pro. NVT. That one looks good. That's a utility. Machine tool metal. Fastening solutions. Oh man, you like boring. They make electrical fastenings. Again, this is nothing. I like that chart. It's a good looking chart. Alrighty, that's the kind of stuff again that you would see on TI strength for sure. That's a good looking. I don't see anything wrong with that. It's just boring. man, look at that downtrend. Lumber liquidators, that massive pullback. I am completely stumped. So if anyone's better at like programming and math or has anything they can share with me on Twitter I'm just Michael Noss CMT. Um, for an idea of how to, because I have the ability in trade ideas with this Market Explorer window, which is a new window that I can build whatever I want. And I want to build desperately. Oh, calm is interesting. It's kind of boring though as well. Um, Rounded bottom scan, so FGen or MBS was that one? Yeah. So like I want to build this into the system. I just have no idea how to turn that into mathematics. So again, if anyone has someone saying, hey, this is how um, this is how I do it in Excel or something like that, a video or whatever, and wants to hit me up, that would be absolutely dope. I've been playing with this scan. I'll share it for the pro members soon, but really I don't need to. It's bone simple, but it's just looking for 2 inside weeks in a row. So you guys know that I did for the pro members. I've got a day trading strategy that looks for consolidating daily, consecutive inside days on the daily, and then I look for a breakout of that. This is the same scan that I just thought, for swings, it's kind of interesting, and it's consecutive days, inside days on the week, which I can't do with trade ideas, but I can do with Trend Spider. Nothing right now that's interesting, but something to watch for. And then kicker. I got a kicker pattern there. HZO. So that's an interesting one too. These are all good looking names. Good work. But yeah, I was about to say the same thing. But you got 4 inside days in a row. Boat dealer. So to me, that's more interesting. You know what? I'm going to steal that. I'm taking that HZO. I think that's a good one. So, right, you're going to want to see it over 57, and then your stop's probably going to be 55 to be reasonable, I think. All good names, which is just dope to see. If people don't know, me and Brett now go way back with mentorship and all of that, and those are just great names. There's no, and they're your style, right? They're slower, more chill stuff. So, just good work. That's all I got to say with that. And I know what you're talking about, but these are all indecision candles, right? The last 3 candles here. So we've got a spinning top and a spinning top and a spinning top, but so they're all forms of doji. But that to me just represents that in this area, no one knows what's up, which is great because the reason I like, and for new time, I always want to go back to people who just started, and thank you. Subscribe, hit a like, all that annoying shit that YouTubers tell you to do really does help the channel. I like indecision candles because I want to know where the market is confused, because just from my experience is after periods of indecision, when there are periods of decision, that ends up being kind of more impactful, right? So the market kind of like a doji, you got to think. So if you draw out a doji in a line chart for a smaller time frame, so let's draw this day right here, right? So the market kind of gapped up a little bit. You have no way of knowing what order this happens in, but that's fine. Sold all the way down, right? Then came all the way back, overshot it a little bit, and then sellers came in and it closed a little bit above where it opened, right? So that's kind of what it looks like. So if you look at that on a line chart intraday, That's just confusion, right? So people, the sellers come in, they try to nail it down. Those sellers get hit, the buyers come in and they overshoot it to the upside, and there's a bunch of sellers that come hit it down. And then the same thing happened the next day, right? It gaps down a little bit. Let's say it sells off again first and then rallies again and then comes right here. And then on the third day, right, it gaps up a bit, it sells all the way off, and then it comes back up, and then it sells off and goes here. So, drawing those 3 days out, and this is the beauty of candlesticks, is they're kind of fractal. They show you what's inside each particular day trading. That just shows to me that for the last 3 days, nobody's known shit. Now, just, right, you always got to put that in context. We talked about earlier, and this is why I always take a look at the market too. The RSP is kind of doing the same thing, kind of. XRT. Yes, that's for a boat dealer. It's doing way better than that. So, yeah, so it's not that it's shocking me that there's a whole bunch of indecision because of the fact that the market's going through a whole bunch of indecision right now. But whenever I see a bunch of indecisions, it will, it will kind of demonstrate, hey, there should be a bigger resolution because everybody who was shorting it is wrong and everybody who was buying it and getting slapped around is right and is probably more likely to buy more. Raindrops will tell you AM and PM. It will, but the thing I still can't get my head around with raindrops is that it's volume and not price, right? So if we go and we look at this, and that is kind of interesting, right? It's not telling you which of these happened first yet. To do that, just go to a 30-minute chart, right? It's easy to do. But what it's telling you is where is the volume taking place. And the fact that all the volume is accumulating on the upper end of that range for HZO may be interesting. But I have to study this way more. Like, you see all the volume was done late in the day at the top right here, and then it fell. And then all of it was done late day in the top right here, and it fell. And all the volume was done late day top here. So I just don't know if there's any correlation between that before I want to spend too much time. But it is a very interesting style of charting that I definitely do want to try. But yeah, so these lines are not the, just so you know, these are the point of control kind of thing, right? It's interesting. It's been a long time since somebody invented a new little horizontal lines. I may need to look into it more, but I thought these horizontal lines were right. But that's the same as a bar chart, right? So if I click on a bar chart, let's not make those white. Let's make them black, which I love bar charts. They just don't share very well, right? So these bar charts are going to line up with it. But what I'm saying is if we take a look at this candle right here, we know that the open's here and that the close is here. Same as the candle tells us that, right? That's the open, that's the close. But we don't know if it went up first and then down and then back up, or if it went down first and then up and then back down. Right? So it's a little bit, that's what I'm wondering. And again, we can just simply go and say, let's go into a 65-minute chart. Let's do that. So we got the separator lines. So in this case, we know that it opened here, right? Went up and then back down. Right? Now we know that it opened here and went up and then down and then back up, right? So that's the way that you're sure of what's happening, right? This one pushed up and then down and then close, right? I don't think it matters, to be blunt. I think that the fact that they are happening in an indecision way, the only time that I think you would want to go and investigate super further to see what order they happened is if you're trying to anticipate, which I don't anticipate, I react. So for me, I want to see HCO close up in this area. And if it's closing up in that area, I'm going to think that those people have finally got kicked. Or the other thing you could do is you could say, I want to see it break by a certain amount, as opposed to just putting your, stop limit directly above. You could say, well, I want it to, have traveled a bit first and then get me in, just so that you know that these guys are done fighting, kind of thing, right? So I need one more name. This EDU, you want to see a depressing chart. Look at that. That's the one of the Chinese education businesses that China just said, no, you are no longer a business. So this is the rounded bottom scan again. Not being a super huge. Oh, I had one on TrendSpider that I was running that I wanted to look at, didn't I? Yeah. So this is a kicker pattern. For those who don't know, a kicker candlestick pattern is just you have your open here and then a down move on one day, and then the second day you have the open about the same and then a push up. I think as a candlestick pattern can be pretty powerful, but it's just one of those things that you have to, um, like any candlestick pattern, a hammer, a doji, whatever. It's all about how does it exist in the context of the overall kind of a trend, right? So I'll do a lot of this when I'm kind of my scans aren't showing me anything. Is I will look for individual candlestick patterns, and then what I just do is I just tab through them. For again, just so people know that they're getting their money's worth with Stats Edge. Is it takes me about an hour and a half every night. I probably go through 500 plus charts a night. I should record it one night. A table 2.0. Oh, that looks good. That's a boring one that you might like, Brett. Arch Resources. What's the materials? Is XBI? XLB. Close. Yeah, XLB looks really strong. So I think Arch is going to be the last one for me. I'll look at the ones you're looking at, but I just like, obviously on the weekly, nice strong trend. If we go into here, looks like we may have traded that one before by where that line was. If we didn't work out too well. But just has a nice kind of rounded bottom going on here. I really, really messed that up. Boop, boop, and boop. All right, so it's the same kind of rounded bottom, came up, now it's chopping sideways. So what's this, 87, 80? So it's decently volatile too. 87, 80. And the reason that I like that where it was is because if you just draw out a support zone, okay, we had resistance here, a little bit of resistance there, support there, there, and there. So this 76 seems interesting. There's someone obviously getting involved in the instrument there. It kind of lines up with some action back in the day as well. RSI is down. Well, yeah, but you got to remember RSI is a momentum indicator, so you may want it lower. Might take a few days. Yeah, I agree with that. Ideally, I would actually like to see it chop sideways for another 2 or 3 days, but I believe the whole market's going to chop sideways for 3 or 4 days. So, just so you guys know, the reason I do all of that analysis first is a lot of this stuff that I put on the list, I think I'm intentionally eyeballing stuff that I think would benefit from a few days of action, right? YWMC. Yeah, it'd be great if it breaks over that kind of 720 now, but if it chops around a few days, I think that's better. SFM, right? If this continues, that's a good thing as well, right? HZO, same kind of thing, right? So this is the higher processes that are going in my mind, right? We talked about all the indecisions going on here with HZO. That to me is only a good thing if that continues another 2 or 3 days. So since I think the entire market is going to be chopping for the next few days, then I think it certainly, again, behooves me to look for things that I believe are going to or would benefit from kind of a sideways chop for 2 or 3 days. Right. So that's why I always kind of do top down type of analysis, because I don't want to, the best way I talk about the reason I look at the top down analysis is that I want to know what sandbox I'm playing in. If I think the market's about to rip over the next day or so, I want to look at charts that I think are more complete and have a chance to rip. Something like F, if I thought the market was going to rip over the next 4 days, I may be interested in this one over yesterday's high as like a second day of the breakout. But I think there's going to be a few days worth of chop. So if Ford chops between where it is here and here for 2 or 3 days, waiting for FOMC, I'll probably put it back on the list for another leg higher. So again, it's hard to describe a lot of things that are going up in this thick dome, but that's again part of the reason for that top down analysis is what do I think the markets are going to do over the next few days. Now let me look for stocks that are going to be congruent with that, just to try to make my life as easy as possible. Let's look at some names again. I am done with everything that I can put on my list, but if you want me to look at some names for you, go right ahead. SBAC looks good. It's just percentage wise, right? If it's going to rock to 4, that gives you 10%. It's better than kicking the teeth. Hello? Good look as well. It has a little bit too much overhead for me on that one. Morningstar. Hilariously enough. Yeah, that again looks fine. Looks fine to me. Just it's one of those, what are the, so that's like a 5%er. And again, it's nothing wrong with that. It's kind of teach their own. Careful of dividends, if this takes a couple of days to go. All else being equal, when a dividend is launched, the stock will drop by the amount of that dividend. So just note that. It doesn't really mean anything, but just know it. All right, guys, exactly 420. Elon would be happy. So that's going to be, oh, you got one more? Oh, we got, the stream must have just caught up. I'll do a couple more before I go. VRSK. I think Docu looks like shit to me. I think I already know. Vertisk Analytics. Good, probably needs a little more time, but again, I think the market needs a little bit more time. Same preference to it's slow. Notice the topping tails up here. There just seems a lot of topping tails on these candles. So at least in the past, 230-ish, 230, 232, there's somebody selling a lot of. So I would just make sure that he's out of your way. And then Docu, I think Docu just is a junk. Yeah. Looks good for a short for me, to be honest. That's a pretty textbook bear flag. Could it bounce from here? it's kind of due. It's gotten absolute hammered, but I just don't. It's one of those. It's one of those crazy growth stocks, right? So like Zoom, right? Like Peloton, like ARKK, right? All of these things are just getting hammered. So you could, if you wanted to, on DocuSign, try to pick a bottom. I would say you're making life harder for yourself, right? Find something that's already found a bottom and going up to make your life easier is the way I would do it. But if you're looking to short, I think this one's interesting. Obviously, whatever happened in earnings was bad. The market did not like that. So just be careful. It's in a downtrend and it's selling, and they had bad earnings, and they're in an environment where everything else is selling. So to each your own, just not something I would touch. Okay, guys, going to take off. I think YUMC or maybe HZO is going to be the short video that I'm going to put up on the channel for a little bit. For you Stats Edge Pro members, I have all the screenshots, so just give me 10-20 minutes and I'll have that up for you guys. I'll ping the Discord chat like I always do as well. And I'll talk to you guys Monday. Trade safe out there.